it's also like anything else. If it's easy, everybody's doing it. And when rates are really low, a lot of people want to get in the game. Well, when rates start to bump up, people don't know how to react. They don't know how to operate it, and they bail. And when there's blood in the streets, that's a great buying opportunity.
My name is Jose Moreno. On this podcast, we discuss current and future trends in the electrical industry. Welcome to the life of an electrical contractor. All right, so with that being said, let's welcome Jeff Brawley, President, CEO of Brawley Associates. What's up, Jeff? Tell us.
Hey, thanks for today and hopping on this podcast. I really appreciate it. I've been doing rental properties, real estate, and investment properties, management, development, sales since 1994, and over the last 30 years, there's not a lot of change. It sounds funny, but people think, oh, I wish I could got in 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But in real estate, really what it comes down to is metrics. And you watch certain metrics, and you work on multipliers, and you work on cash flow. And it doesn't matter if the property 20 years ago was $500,000 and today it's $5 million. It's what it makes. At the end of the day, getting into real estate, the sooner the better. And people are all uptight now about their interest rates are high. Well, there's still opportunities. When I bought my first rental property, I think I was paying 9%. Now, in the last 2 years, 3 years, we've been really good at 3% or less, and it's been phenomenal cash returns. But it's also like anything else. If it's easy, everybody's doing it. And when rates are really low, a lot of people want to get in the game. Well, when rates start to bump up, people don't know how to react. They don't know how to operate it, and they bail. And when there's blood in the streets, that's a great buying opportunity. So I think you'll be seeing that pretty soon. You're already starting to see some people walk away from projects and default. But I think in the early part of 2024, we're going to see a lot more of that. But for overall, 30 years in the industry, the Brawley Group today, we operate got 200 million in assets under management. We do it from the ground up. We can build it, we can sell it, we can lease it, we can paint it, we can tear it down. We can mow the grass, we can paint the exterior, the interior. Everything we can do is basically vertical integration in-house. It allows us to move quick, responsive time to our tenants, to our clients, and take care of what we need to, because nobody in the industry says my maintenance guy showed up exactly on time like he said he would. No one complains about the rent. What we get is people complaining about people not showing up for maintenance if they said they were going to show up. People complaining about things didn't get done in a timely fashion. So when we can control the variable of that, it definitely helps us operate more smoothly.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting. That's a very interesting how. In contracting world, it's the same thing, right? People call people and then they don't show up, or people say they were going to do something and then they don't do it, and then that's really what makes and breaks relationships, right? But long-term ones, if anything. But I think you obviously you saw that, and you ended up building a whole business around that can actually, like you said, control the variables, right? So that's awesome.
You can control what you can control, but you can't. And when you look at any reviews that we've got that were bad reviews over the years, we go back and study those, and we can pinpoint, if we fix this, it fixes a global problem. We don't look at things as saying, hey, this is a one-off and it's an uncommon occurrence. We can't fix everything. We had a situation where someone ran into one of our buildings and the tenant had to move out, and they were upset. They wanted to sue us. And it's like, hey, we can't control that variable. What we can provide you is, your refund on your rent, your security deposit, and move on. But we can't control the variable that someone hit the building. So what we can control is, does everything work in a timely fashion? Do we respond? Do we answer the phones? Those are things that people will say, oh, I've called them 14 times and they never called me back. Well, we have software, we have operations that says you did call 14 times and you hung up, you never left a voicemail, and you dialed extension 12, you dialed extension 14, you dialed extension 13, you dialed all these extensions, we see it, but you didn't leave us a message. We can't help you if you don't help us. And and then it's funny because people say, well, I got their voicemail. I'm like, did you leave a message? No. I thought that's the purpose of voicemail, is you actually leave a message and they will call you back. So there's pieces there that, again, we still can't control, but we try to do a really good job of our response. And in management, definitely it's managing chaos. And the quicker we can put out a fire, the better.
Yeah. I like what you said, that, you can't help somebody if you don't know they need help, right? And I think that's what I'm trying to get with this whole, at least this, this intro here is there's people that like my main goal here with this, my intention of this episode is literally with this current economy, this current situation, or whether what's going to happen. Is it going to blow up? Is it not going to blow up? Real estate, is it going to fall apart? There's guys, like there's contractors like myself, and obviously other guys that watch the show, and even employees, or just in general, whoever watches the show, people in the industry, right, that perhaps have 50,000, perhaps have 100,000, and they're like, well, I don't know where to put this money in, right? I don't know maybe I don't trust the stock market, right? Maybe I don't want to just have it sitting in the bank, and they start to get itchy, right? Like, oh, I want to do something with this. I want to do something with this. And exactly what you said is, if you don't know, like, I know recently we were at a class together. Obviously I know Jeff, we're at a part of a group, and where one of the biggest terms that kept coming out is you don't know what you don't know, right? And it's like, you think you have this money and you think you know something, and you're going to go try to throw it at something, and you really don't. And who knows, it might actually fail. And then that's where I'm going to say real estate gets the bad rap. And then of course, throw on top of that this current economic cycle, it just kind of puts you like in this frozen state where, like, you know what, maybe I don't do nothing, or maybe I don't know what to do. And then of course, and then finally is, who do I know that knows about this shit, right? Like, realistically, who knows about this shit? Because half the time people watch the news, right? Or reading the newspaper, or just kind of Google something, and realistically it's like, well, that might not be very helpful, right? So,
right.
So in your eyes, that's one of my things. One of my questions that I wanted to bring up is there really is there an actual difference right now between passive and active, and even your own suggestions on it, obviously,
Yeah. There's a lot there to unpack, and let's first look at passive versus active. And there's IRS terminology of that, but really when you think about it, if you're earning passive income, that means you're not actually working for it. If you're working and you're an active status, that means you're trading time for money. Now, people trade time for money every day. They get paid, they work an hourly wage, they trade time for money. It can be the same aspect in real estate, but there's people who are what they consider passive. People who take that $50,000 or $100,000 that they have sitting around, and they put it into a real estate investment. Now, real estate investment can be a broad term, right? It can be commercial, it can be residential, single family rentals, not just residential living. It could be storage. There's various forms of real estate, right? Investment, it becomes an investment model when there is income generated on that pays cash flow. Cash flow means after all expenses are paid, there's extra funds to be distributed. That's it. Simple, easy. Like, there's extra money to go around. And what happens with that is, if you're invested in that, you're going to start to continue to pocket more that you can reinvest in order to stack that to build wealth. Long-term wealth is what the game you want to be in. Not cash flow, but long-term wealth. So when you look again, active versus passive, people who are in the electrical trades, they could be considered active because they actually have a skill set. You could partner with somebody and say, listen, let's buy this old apartment building, right? It needs all rewired. Okay, great. I'm going to put my skill set to use, rewire this building. I can do it for my cost comparably to what the retail cost of that is. And as a result, you're going to have a better return on that investment because you didn't fork out retail cost numbers to pay for it. So anybody that's in a skill set, brick masons, concrete guys, drywall guys, electricians, plumbers, they have a real advantage because that is the skill set that you can apply to any investment property. And as you go into that, you know what you know about what it's going to cost. There's a lot of investors and buyers, they don't know what the cost is. They'll go into real estate and say, well, we're gonna raise the rents, we're gonna do this remodel. They don't even know where the first place to start on a remodel is. So there is some direct advantages to people who are in a specific industry of how to apply their skill sets to make the most of it. So they could be active participant in the real estate investment by doing that. Maybe they go out and troubleshoot. There's a problem at one of the properties, plumbing, electric. It happens. You're gonna have problems. You're going to have problems. The more houses, the more units, the more doors you have, the more problems you're going to have. It's the law of advantage. I mean, the law of numbers, right? You have 1,000 units, you're going to get calls every day. You're going to have appliances go bad. You're going to have water lines break. I mean, this week we had one water line go bad from the main to the house. We're going to have to dig it up. We have another remodel we're doing that the size of the line isn't big enough to handle the water supply, so we're going to have to dig that up. Right now, we've got 25 projects in our pipeline for a remodel or a development. And every one of those, it takes a body to make sure that work is done. Everything from the guys doing the permitting, the budgeting, the analysis, same thing you do every day as the business owner, right? You're looking at a job, and you're doing just one piece of it. Right now, you're looking at the electrical. Well, there's somebody on the other side of that that's taking those numbers, and they're pulling together the plumbing, the drywall, the concrete, the roofing, and have to put a budget to this development or a remodel to say, hey, does this work? Will it cash flow? So guys who know what they know in the industry, there's real advantages. And I use the term, you've got to learn it before you earn it. And a lot of people hop into real estate and they think, oh, I will make money. You don't know that piece that you were just talking about, Jose, is you don't know what you don't know. They could say, listen, we need this is classic, right? You get a 1965, 70, anything built before 75. 99% of those times, every one of those electrical panels have to be upgraded, right? You got an old panel in there. Insurance will not insure it until those panels have been, and they'll give you a window, right? Hell, what's the name of a couple of those old panels?
Federal. Right now, we're actually we have a guy who has. Right now, we have a guy who has about like their garden apartments, right? Similar to like probably what you have, right? And and he's got. We just signed like 4 different locations. One has like 12 buildings. Another one has like 16 buildings. Another one has like 20 buildings. And all of them, you're talking about almost 1,000 units. They all have to get the panels replaced, right? Now,
exactly.
The guy doesn't want to, but it's the insurance company. It's like either you do it or we drop you. So
exactly. Okay. So what happens now is the guy wasn't budgeting for that. He was like, it's got an electrical panel. It works. Why do I need another one? Well, because these panels are not reliable. They cause fires, right? So yes, they have to be replaced. Now, when you have to learn it before you earn it, he might go out and get one quote. They might charge, I don't know, $3,000 a panel, $2,000 a panel, $10,000 a panel. Well, the guy doesn't know what the actual work consists of. How is he going to be able to judge, hey, I've got a really good number? And you look at it, you're pricing, okay, I've got 1,000 units. I got to change the panel. My cost is X. It's pretty simple. You just got to go in, flip the panel out. You budget out, allocate X amount hour per job. And you're going to have your spread. You're going to have your profit. But just think if somebody was in that investment, say you were owner of that asset, say you were competing, you were buying that asset, and Joe Schmo's buying that asset that has no real estate, or I'm sorry, has no electrical knowledge whatsoever. Well, you can come in there and say, listen, I know every one of these panels need to be changed. I can do this at my cost. My upside is a lot larger than his upside. So again, advantages of knowing your trade, there's pluses and minuses to it. The guy who might come in and say, I don't know anything about electric, all these have to be changed, it's going to cost me $5,000 a panel. Then all of a sudden, I went from making money to losing money. But that's the way it is. His skill set was maybe managing the asset. Doesn't mean he knows how to make money at it. Maybe he knows how to lease it. Maybe he knows how to maintain it. Maybe he knows how to call other people to do work for him, but he can't do the work. So for me, when I started, for the first 17 years, all I did was my own properties. I didn't manage for anybody else. I didn't do work for anybody else. All I did was my own assets. And that was the learn it before I earned it. I had to know every piece of that to say, oh, we got to go change a panel. Oh, we have to do this. Oh, the bathroom's 40 square feet. Oh, or the windows, whatever it might be, how to figure cost. So when I'm looking at a new asset, I know all the questions to ask. Somebody who's brand new,
I got you. Yep.
They don't think about, well, what panel's in there? Or, wonder, these are nice looking apartments. I think everything's great. There's so many pieces that you get in there that people really quick figure out. They don't know what they don't know, right? So if you're setting on $50,000 or $100,000, how do you get involved into a real estate deal? The one aspect is, you try to go about it yourself. Caution, caution, and caution. You probably didn't try to wire the electrical panel or bring a main in on a house by yourself the first time. So don't try to do real estate by yourself the first time, or the second time, or the third time. The thing you want to do is find someone who's been doing it, because even myself, with managing and owning over 100 million and managing 200 million, I have investors in every aspect of things I do. And we're not out there just trying to buy real estate for ourselves. What we're building is a community. We're building a network. And I have assets I own that I do own 100%. I have assets where I own 5%. I have assets that own 30%. I have assets that own 50%, 70%. There is no rhyme to say, oh, I have to own 100% of this.
Oh, that's good. That's interesting. Yeah. You have like this thing like, oh no, if I own it, I have to own it 100%. But I guess there's other options, right?
No, you're pooling your skill sets together, and sometimes that other individual skill set is how to make money doing something else.
Yes.
There might be financial advisors. They're really good at advising people what to do with their money. And they make money doing it. It doesn't mean he needs to know how to change an electrical panel or lease a property. But what they do is they take their earned income and put it into assets that produce passive income. Because unless you do that, you're always trading your time for money. You have to get away from that. And the only way you can is to invest in assets that are going to, one, appreciate, two, are going to provide cash flow. Real estate gives you that platform. And here's why. If you went to go buy a stock, right? Any stock, I don't care, mutual fund stock, and you went to the bank and say, listen, I'm going to put up 25 cents on every dollar, and I want you to put up 75 cents on it. And we're going to buy this stock together. Would they do that?
No.
No, they won't. And you can say, listen, Bank of America.
It's really good.
Bank of America, loan me 25 cents and you put in the other 75 cents on your own stock. They won't do it. Bitcoin's the same thing, right? The only asset that out there that you can leverage your money is on real estate. That's it. You can go to a bank and say, listen, I have this asset. It's making this much money. Here's my leases. Here's my pro forma. Here's what I'm doing with it. Hey, would you give me 50%, 60%, 70% of the money to buy this? They say, yes, we'll do that. So when you're walking into a real estate deal, you're not putting up 100%. People say, yeah, I'm going to buy it for cash. Okay, great. At the end of the day, a transaction is a transaction. It doesn't matter if you borrowed the money from someone else or you as your own money. It's still a cash transaction. So what you have to look at is, are you leveraged or unleveraged? So I believe in leverage, right? You can go and buy $1 million asset for $200,000, $250,000, maybe $300,000. There's restrictions, and in today's industry with the what they call debt service coverage ratios, the banks will lend money on it to what it makes. They will not automatically just give you a 80% loan to value or 75% loan to value. Those days are gone. But you still get to leverage it. Now, the only benefit of having cash on hand is you could do a quick sale. So you could go to a seller and say, listen, I'll tell you what, you want $1 million for this? I'll give you $800,000 and close next week. Wow, okay. Close next week, $800,000. Okay, I'll do that. Now, the other option is it's $1 million and it's going to take 60 days to close. Okay, yeah. Someone might be eager because they have that 800,000. They already have their eye on something else. So if you do have cash if you got cash bundles, you can make lower priced offers and sometimes get them because you can quickly close on that asset. That's a big advantage of having straight cash, bundles of it, versus having to get a loan. And you can always, after the fact, you close on it. Say you bought it for $800,000 on this example with cash. The next day you can go get a loan on it.
Take your money right back out, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. So the things that go into this is when you can do real estate deals and leverage it, use the bank's money, and I promise you the bank will not lend you money on a deal that's not going to work. It's not going to happen. They're not going to get you upside down. It's impossible because the bank does not want to take this asset back at any given time. Worst case scenario, they don't want to do it. The other thing is now, if you invested $50,000 or $100,000 in this project, no one's going to steal it. It's not like someone hacked your crypto account and it's gone. You cannot steal real estate. It didn't magically disappear. It didn't go, wait a minute, it was here yesterday, it's gone now. What happened to it? It's not going anywhere. I tell people, investors, some of the questions they ask me is, well, what happens if you die? Well, I tell them I am going to die. It's not if. So don't be alarmed. Someday I will die. But everything's normal. The asset doesn't go away. The loan doesn't go away. The financial protection doesn't go away. Your money is still in the asset. So will other people step in to operate it? Absolutely. If you die, your stock has to move to somebody else. Your Bitcoin account, if you don't have your digits, what happens? I've heard that if you don't have specific, your whatever 10-digit or 12-digit number,
then it's lost in fucking the world.
Shit, I can't remember where I left my wallet. You think I'm going to remember a number? So real estate advantages. One, it's never going away. There is no substitute for real estate. Zero. Two, you have tax advantages, lots of tax advantages. It's the only thing the IRS actually does right. So when you buy a commercial real estate investment property, now again, I say commercial, it can be residential, it can be multifamily, it can be storage. And again, anything that makes money. The IRS actually gives you this word, it's called depreciation of the asset, that you get to write off a certain percentage of that each year. And what that write-off does is it reduces your taxable earnings that you pay taxes on. It's pretty simple. The other benefit is you get you have appreciation with that, but the IRS also says if you want to roll your gains into another asset, you can do it tax free.
Mm.
That's called a 1031 exchange. And what that does is it keeps the world moving. Because if the IRS pulled that provision, everybody would pull their money out. Because there's no benefit. People stock money in real estate because of some of the tax advantages, the depreciation alone. I'll tell you this, I have paid zero not real estate. I've paid zero in income taxes for multiple years and make over 7 figures. I have tax advantages based upon owning real estate. When people realize that that's a benefit, they go through the 7 stages of grief? Is that what it is? Now, as a business owner, you probably understand what depreciation when you buy an asset that's used in the course of business, a truck, a piece of equipment, a machine, you get to depreciate that, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing on real estate. You have a lot of high net worth earners, doctors, attorneys, medical professionals that have zero tax advantages, tax advantages at all. And when I share with them the ways real estate can help them, they go through that 7 stages of grief. They're like, one, they can't believe it to be true. It's acceptance. They think I'm cheating the IRS, there's something wrong. And then they go through all those phrases to the point where, they're all in. I've got a lot of medical professionals who are ready to quit their jobs as medical professionals because they trade time for money. Doctors only make money when they're providing a service. When they're on vacation, they make zero. When they're not working, they make zero. Now, if they own a real estate asset like a surgical center, they're making money when they're not working. But there's a very, very, very small percentage of those professionals who are in that space. So when you're in real estate, there's so many advantages. There's the long-term appreciation, short-term gains, cash flow. No one's going to steal it. You can leverage it. Now, how do you get into all those things, right? You got to find someone who's been in the game. And I don't mean first play of the year, first game of the year, right? They've got to be through a downturn. They've got to be through 2008. They've got to be in the game long enough they know what they know. You don't want to get into an investment with someone who's never exited a deal. And what I mean by that is you can buy something, but if you don't know how to exit that sale and how to capitalize and make the most money on it, you've lost, right? And if you start with the end in mind, which is always the game to play, right? And you work your way backwards, you have to be knowing that you have to buy it right. That's the most mistakes people make in real estate is they did not buy it right. And what I mean by that is they might have overpaid. They might have underestimated their expenses. They maybe didn't know they had to change out 1,000 federal panels. All those things can happen. So you don't want to get caught up in someone said, I've got a real estate opportunity. The first thing you got to ask those people is, how long you been doing it?
How long you been doing this, bro?
Right? I mean, I probably wouldn't trust the heart doctor if this was his first surgery.
Yeah, it's true. So with that being said, so obviously all this experience you have, what are you seeing right now? Like opportunities wise, like, is it still there or is it obviously,
here's where there's opportunities right now. Seller financing. There's people who still want to exit their deals. Some of them, they have to exit their deals or they're going to get really in trouble. And here's why it happens. Okay, if you go backwards, I'm going to make this brief. 3 years ago was 2020, right? Rates were great. COVID maybe still kind of happened. Let's see, we're June. So we were into the COVID world, right? People were people were scared to death, right? People were buying real estate. Those who really did well bought a ton of real estate there because there was people scared, right? Up to even a year ago, rates were still super low. In the commercial industry, you don't get a 30-year fixed mortgage. You don't get a 20-year fixed mortgage. You might get a 3-year fixed mortgage or a 5-year or maybe a 1-year. So what happens is all these rate changes are coming due from 3 years ago or 5 years ago, 2017, 2018. If you go back and look at people who bought something in 2017, 2018, 2019, who were at a 2.5%, 3%, 4% number, now they're getting slapped in the face with a 7.5%, 8%, maybe 9% number. All of a sudden, it went from them making money to losing money. So those are the people who never been through a downturn and now are getting slapped upside the face and they have to exit. So seller financing is sometimes a really valuable option to someone, both from a buying standpoint and a selling standpoint. Because to go get money right now is costly, one. Two, those debt coverage restrictions I was talking about early. I mean, we've got an asset we're looking at right now that typically we could get 75% LTV, maybe even 80% LTV on it. Loan to value is what that means. So we put up 20% or 30% of the money and the bank puts up the rest. We're seeing stuff right now at a 50% LTV. Wow. So we've got to put up 50% of the money and the bank will put up 50% of the money.
Wow. They're tightening up.
What's changed? The asset's not changed.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It's the rates and the economy has changed. So what happens there is a lot of now investors who are looking at that going, yeah, it's not, I mean, putting up 50%, I don't like it as good. Because if you're sitting there and you've got the money and you're looking at 5 different assets to purchase, you're going to go with the one that makes the most sense. And it might be where I might get 75% leverage on a different asset, but it might be cost more, but my money still does the same thing. And the key to all this is doors. If you're in multifamily, you want scale. You don't want to buy one 12-unit apartment building. You want to buy one 300-unit apartment building. You don't want to buy one storage facility. You want to buy, 500,000 square feet of storage facilities.
Wow.
You get scale when you start to get vertical in your space, not horizontal. Horizontal is you spread, a mile wide and inch thick. Where people get into that vertical is where they're an inch wide and a mile high in their space. And that's where the industry has really changed the game over the last even 10 years, right? And the world changed with internet, 20 years ago. But 20 years ago, I wasn't looking for property in Florida or New York or California. I don't buy in New York or California, but and there's another thing. There's pro landlord states and there's non friendly landlord states. Illinois, New York, Washington State, California, all those are no, right? The tenants have all the rights. And it doesn't mean that we're taking advantage of tenants. But what you see like during COVID is people stop paying rent. Landlord, you can't evict them. Well, how do you make any money if no one's paying you? That's another episode.
So now what do you see, like, how are you preparing yourself for this next wave? Because obviously you obviously seller financing is a whole nother option now. You said banks are probably now looking at a potentially 50 LTV ratio, right? So people are probably like, well, I'm not so sure I want to, like you said, I'm not so sure I want to put up 50% of my money when I can go somewhere else and maybe just do 25%. So is this a new wave that's coming? And what are you doing? How you're setting up yourself?
Yeah. there is a wave coming, and there is you've got to be. I'm going to say is stockpiled with cash,
Mm.
because you want to be able to make moves quickly, right? And I don't mean stockpile cash and hoard it. Cash is trash. I'm telling you, I wake up broke every day. If I wake up and I, came into $100,000, it's going into a real estate deal tomorrow.
Mm.
Seriously, I do not sit on a lot of cash. I'm broke, but I'm asset rich all the time.
Mm.
And now, what do I do? All right, I'll go refinance a property. And then another benefit is when you refinance a property, like I'm doing one right now. I'm getting what is it? 300. I'm getting $325,000 in a refinance. What does that mean? I bought a property in March of 2018 for $1.6 million. That property now appraised at $2.2 million. So I have equity. What they call trapped equity now, right? So I go to the bank and I say, listen, I want to refinance this and do what they call a cash out refinance. I want to take some of my equity off the table and put it in my pocket. I say, okay, that's non-taxable. You pay zero tax on that money because you've leveraged it again. You've raised your debt again. And the bank will loan you money all day long because how do banks make money?
Lending it, right?
Lending it, right? So I've got one property that I bought in 1999. I've refinanced it. I'd have to go back and look. I've probably refinanced it 5 times. I bought it for $179,000 in October of 1999. It's worth $1 million today. I owe, yeah, and I owe about $500,000 on that. So that tells me over the last 20 years, I've refinanced it and I've taken out about $500,000. What did I do with that? Every single time I went and bought more property.
Huh.
Every single time.
Interesting. Wow, that's really insightful.
That's the key. The key is when I said originally, you want to stack it, right? I take cash out and I go buy more property. I take cash out and I go buy more property all the time. And when I distribute money to investors and I say, here you go, they're like, well, I don't want to sell. No, you're not selling. I'm just giving you proceeds, extra money. And you still own the exact same percentage as you started with.
Wow.
And you know how often you can do that? As many times as you want in life. There's no limits.
Wow.
So I've been able to build now over the 20 years a portfolio that we're starting a path that will refinance every quarter a bucket of properties. When I say a bucket, it might be 3 or 4 properties. And we have over 100 properties. So I've created now a perpetual stream of money that will provide wealth for generations.
Wow. So
because every quarter I'm going to get cash proceeds. And what do I do with those? I can put some in my bank. I can go on a trip, because what did I do to make that money? Nothing. That's called passive income.
Wow.
And I can go buy more real estate. I can go on a trip, and it's like coming out of nowhere.
Wow.
And then 4 years later, I get to do it again. 3 years later, I get to do it again. You can do it again many times as you want. You just have to increase the value. How do you increase value?
Keep fixing.
You go and you increase the asset value. You make improvements to it. Anybody who's a slumlord, their value is going down. It's not going up. You have to increase the value of the property to get higher rents. No one is going to give you more money for a lesser value.
Yeah.
People will beg to give you more money for something nicer. The highest priced properties we have, people fight over. There's nobody fighting over the lowest priced properties. It's such a strange environment.
Wow. Wow.
So what do? We always want to add more value, add more value, add more value. You know, the one we're doing right now for the water line, that we have to increase the size of the water line. House was built 1895. It was old Victorian home, historic home. It's a 9-bedroom home, right? This is a college town home. This isn't like a multi-family kind of thing. This is a college. It's 1 block from the university. So who rents it? Students. What do students want? They want nice things. Yeah. Daddy, this is what I want. Who pays? Dad does. I've got a kid in college, same thing. So what happens with that is this 9-bedroom home, you know, I think it had 4 bathrooms. We're putting 9 bathrooms in a 9-bedroom home. We'll go from that asset, and we don't rent by the bed, but just give you valuations by the bed. We'll go from making $800 a bed on that to $1,200 a bed by putting a bathroom in every bedroom.
Yeah,
that's adding value.
Yeah.
Now, that $1,200 that our rent went way up 2 years. We'll go and refinance that. We'll put that one asset. We'll put $300,000 improvements in this thing. In 2 years, we'll take out $300,000 to $400,000.
So it paid itself. It paid itself.
It paid for itself.
Yeah, yeah.
Every time.
Wow.
I look like I'm a smart guy, but I'm just a simple guy.
So this is my last one then. So what out there is concerning you? And is there anything in real estate right now that's concerning you? Like, especially obviously, the whole idea of the episode was like, all right, somebody go find somebody who knows what they're doing, put some money away into it, put some money in it. But then you're a pro. You've seen this. You've been around. Is there anything out there that's actually concerning you in this thing?
What concerns me is the rookies.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah, because they're going to put. Everybody's going to talk about, I tried real estate. I invested with this guy. I lost money. Well, you bet on the wrong jockey.
Got it.
What they say, you don't bet on the horse. You bet on the jockey. So they went into it looking wrong. Now, was it their fault? You know, maybe they were friends with this guy or a lady or a group for 10 years, maybe 5 years. And they were friends. You know, a lot of, you know, for the first 15 years, they were just all my friends and family. That's the only people that invested with me because I never went and asked for money from other people. Okay. Because I thought, I don't want to do that. Seems needy. But over time, I realized I'm making them one of the best investment opportunities they'll ever have. And what I find is there's more people who want to know more about what I do than less about what I do. So what I learned is I need to share this with people because it is, I want to spread the wealth. As I said, I don't do this myself. People in the real estate industry are not takers. They're givers. They're not greedy people. They want to share. They want to have a community. As I said, you have a community of people that we celebrate with. We get together. We have quarterly meetings. We have trips. That's another thing.
Yeah.
You go on a trip, it's a tax write-off. We took a meeting in Mexico. It was an investor meeting.
Wow.
It's all paid for. We talked real estate. It's good. We looked at real estate. There's so many advantages, right?
Yeah, that's
as
awesome.
an electrical contractor, I mean, you could go to a trade show and make that as an expense, but you can't go to some resort and have no event that's in that world. Every place I go, I look at real estate.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, man.
So what scares me is the rookies. It's going to put a black eye, and everyone's gonna, and the media is going to say, what does the media focus on? Bad news. Yep. There's no news station that talks about good news.
Yep. That's actually I actually had put that in there. Should they not be looking at news like everything else? Obviously, we don't really watch the news because it's just gonna mess up your mind. But
I haven't watched the news in 6 years.
Yep.
7 years.
And we're way better for it, right? We're way better for it. So So
way better.
There you have it. This man just gave you a quite an overview into his world and how he operates in it, you know, day in, day out, right?
Actually, and you're losing more money in the bank than you are under your mattress, because they're making money on you and you're making nothing. You're actually devaluing every day it's left in the bank. The value is going backwards. Your dollar's less today than it was yesterday, or yesterday it was less than today.
Yep. Any final thoughts? Any final thoughts you want to share?
The only regret people have about real estate is they didn't get in sooner.
That's it. There you go. He said it.
Yeah.
So, guys, as always, thank you for listening. If any of this information you find valuable, hit that subscribe button. As always, remember to share this with someone who you know needs to hear this. And feel free to comment on this one, and catch you on the next one. Thank you, guys.